3 FM. We are the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola, and we're here this morning ready to navigate through the front pages of our dailies. And we are still reflecting on the significance of Democracy Day that was celebrated last week, Thursday, I believe. We also had the President address us from the National Assembly, a very slight deviation from the expectation that he would have done an early morning presidential broadcast at 7 a.m. His plans changed and we were addressed from the National Assembly. But we still should not be too carried away by all the politicking that happened on that day, such that we forget to honor those who really gave themselves, who paid the ultimate price just so that we can enjoy the democracy that we are currently enjoying, no matter how flawed we might think it is. At least we get to enjoy certain privileges offered to us by virtue of the democracy. And there are some people who fought vehemently, who lost their lives, who lost their families, whose course of life was altered, almost unfixable, because they wanted a situation where people would be able to express themselves, enjoy their fundamental human right without fear of being arrested, locked up, or detained for having minds of their own. And yes, the president's address was quite controversial. A lot of people had a lot of things to say about the presidential address. They had a lot of analysis, critical analysis about certain statements that were made by the president on Democracy Day. Most importantly, the honor that was conferred on certain individuals, something that some people don't deserve it. Others who deserved it were not on that list. Some believe that it is because of political affiliations and political considerations that certain individuals were not on that list. There was also the obvious error, also a lot of things that had happened following the president's address on Democracy Day. Anyways, as I said, we still should focus on the beauty that Democracy Day offers to us, and the papers still have a lot of reference and renewed hope, renewed energy to fight for the Nigeria that we all desire by being law-abiding citizens and, of course, speaking true to power. Nigeria, there's been a very disturbing alteration in the balance of the world, and there's fears that why is this coming up on an early morning program on a Nigerian station? Well, as we look through the papers this morning, you would understand why that tussle is significant to us, because oil prices have started to dwindle, and we have here in Nigeria. But today on Trends in the Papers, we would analyze this pivotal event. We would explore the implications for Nigeria, the world at large, and so I implore you to join me as we dive 8.3 FM. That's how you find us on Facebook, on YouTube as well. You can also join using the websites www.mainlandfm.com. We're also very much available on your online radio streaming platform programs here on Mainland FM. My name once again is Sage Babalola. You're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. Now let's take a quick look at some of the stories that trended over the course of the weekend before we bring on Fᴜဃᴜ to talk about the most recent stories for this morning. The Guardian newspaper over the weekend had reported road crashes rise amid poor vision, highway corruption, obsolete equipment. Trump considers adding Nigeria others to US visa ban list. Gombe governor backs Tinubu for 2027 re-election. Atiku era over as PDP plans rotation of offices. Tinubu has drawn battle line with Nigerians by weaponizing hunger, poverty, says Solomon Dalong. If you don't know who he is the former Minister of Youth and Sport. Mogalu, we must create acceptable criteria for leadership, amend Electoral Act, Serap tells Tinubu. That's for Guardian. For Punch, over the weekend, we saw in the papers, Obedient Movement slams Tinubu over opposition in disarray comment. Dangote Refinery to begin petrol diesel distribution nationwide August 15. Bauchi approves recruitment of 2,000 forest security guards. Senate introduced 844 bills in 2 years, says Akpabio. Tinubu's solo endorsement by North for Nigeria. Current corruption level higher than military era, says Ariel Nokakanfo, Gani Adams. And moving on finally to the Vanguard, the weekend reports, Poplio decries killing of 200 in Benue, prays for peace in Nigeria. Nigerian man jailed after forcing kisses on patient in UK hospital. Commuters stranded as angry youth protest in Makurdi over Benue killings. Katsina government to open literacy classes for repentant bandits. And we have Nigeria's problems is beyond what human beings can handle ordinarily, says Wale Oke, PFN president. So that is a brief summary of some of the stories that trended over the course of the weekend. We are now moving on to the reports for this morning. We're looking at the Guardian newspaper, Vanguard newspaper, and the Punch newspaper. Fuad Sai joins us now via the phone. Let's get straight into conversations. Good morning, Fuad. How are you today?
Good morning, Sage. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm as well as I can be, honestly. If you look through the papers, you probably would not be all that great yourself. But I think we're grateful for the gift of life. His daddy at the office, so
everybody is that.
Happy Father's Day.
But you know their fathers are their fathers. So,
right.
But if I remembered on that day, I saw that a lot of people at least were able to put out one or two posts. I don't know whether we got gifts. I didn't get any.
Is it?
You know, Mother's Day, who will say, "Oh, you was buy this for us." You was on Father's Day. I only post it. Just only post. Not, And even when you get the gifts, you just go and buy one locally and international. We have this renewed outer media, so it's not just a local report.
Yeah.
And that's why you can. I think it's also reported that even the Pope Leo had to also put out a statement calling for prayers and the stop to the arson we are seeing in Benue State. The president is saying enough is enough, so we're going to dig into it today properly. But Benjamin Netanyahu, for me, I started another war in the Middle East. It's crazy, really, what's happening in the Middle East. Apart from the issue of peace and security,
$5 per barrel, which would have been something beneficial to Nigeria, but knowing how we are.
And the report is saying that there are marketers who have started to adjust their prices upward.
Yeah.
JP Morgan is predicting $120 per barrel. That's going to go crazy, really.
Yeah.
Mixed. It's supposed to be blessing to Nigeria, but okay, let's just go into the papers and I'm sure we'll
get it, because all of these stories are intertwined. That's the funny thing. Everything is connected to one another. But I think we should open the conversation with the killings in Benue State. That is the most disturbing national issue on our hands at the moment, although we might soon find ourselves in a fuel crisis. But Fuad, 200 people in Benue State, and these were back-to-back attacks. There was first one that saw 45 people die, and the rate in situations like this one, but the figure that is recurring is at the moment 200 people have died in Benue State in renewed attack. The Pope Leo had commented on the panel or committee or whatever the case may be, such that these herders and these farmers can come together and reach a consensus. Fuad, do you believe that we are at a point where we might need to declare a state of emergency in Benue State? I mean, what is the casualty figure that would be enough for the president to make a decision and say, you know what, let us declare a state of emergency to handle the situation, rather than the renewed call time victims that have lost their lives in Benue State?
Well, thank you so much for starting this conversation with the issue of maybe it's time for the president to declare a state of emergency, because, again, that provision of the Constitution that allows the president to declare a state of emergency in a state that is in trouble, like Benue State, has been misused. In fact, if you look at that section of this Constitution, it does not just give the president the power to declare a state of emergency, to provide for more security, create some form of martial law in a state that is troubled like Benue State. He also says that, look, even the governor can come from the federal government. But there's nowhere in that section of the Constitution. Yes, I think we've gotten to the point where it is right to stopping the action we're seeing in Benue State. The killings have to stop. And so what it will do is that, look, you have some form of martial law. People can be detained, vehicles can be searched, people can be arrested, not necessarily taking them to court immediately. So what you have is a form of security arrangement that ensures that, look, this case at least stops temporarily until we can have a more stable approach to the problem. But because in Benue and Ekiti, and some of us have thought that, look, under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has always seemed to be a true Democrat, we would not have seen a repeat of such a misuse of power security situation in Rivers that warranted the president making a broadcast, declaring a state of emergency there, sacking the governor and all the political structure in the state to practice democracy the way it ought to be practiced, to ensure that we get the sanctity of our constitution, the pillars of democracy. Now we have a situation where he decided to play politics with it.
Fuad, so
yes, I'm with you.
Let's talk about some of the things that the president has said. First, he has asked the service chiefs to act decisively, arrest perpetrators. He has also asked Leah to lead reconciliation effort between the farmers, the headers, and. But I would like us to also highlight some of the events that have followed this senseless killing in Benue State. So there was a protest, right, in Makurdi, the capital. There was a protest. Pick that particular report so I can actually name names. They were addressed and they were told that things are going on. The people should please work with the security agencies so that they don't become like a stumbling block in the ways that the security agencies are trying to manage the situation. And a while later, the protesters were dispersed using tear gas. Do you believe that this action, the community, and you are dispersing the crowd with tear gas, do you believe that the protest might have been wasted?
Okay, before we talk about the protest and the fact that, look, there are reports that the biggest killing going on in Benue State. Let's first talk about what the president is saying. I saw that press release yesterday. Yeah. Enough is enough. Basically directing the service chiefs, the security operatives to go after these killers and bring them to book. Sage, how many times have we heard that? The senseless killings must stop. I've directed, I've given the marching orders. Is that not what we? Is there anything new? Oh, we have given the marching. Sage, how many of these killings have we reported in the last 2 months? I'm sure we lost. Now, the directive to the governor to say, to call for a reconciliation meeting. There's a dysfunction somewhere. It seems as if on these killings, there's a dysfunctional approach to the problem. There seems to be a problem too in terms of the kinds of information we are getting. Before you know it, before you know they say, it's a communal clash, it is elders, local elders, you are not even sure of what's going on. The governor will tell you, this is genocide. If it's a communal clash, why then do we have a tendency towards genocide? The service chiefs will tell you, these are hired machineries, or these are people who have come from outside, who are elders who are not known in Nigeria. And that's why you see that for every of the reports, where we have to analyze these killings in different parts of the country, at state level, I agree that there seems to be a complete level of failure of governments to perform their primary function to the people of protecting lives and properties of the people. But because the president, no matter what you say about Governor Aliyah, the security structure we have, yes, you say, Governor Aliyah is the chief security officer of the state. It doesn't control any security structure. Even though unfortunately, we give them security vote. We know what happens to the security vote in most of the states. He didn't put the blame on the governors of the Northeast. Everything was put on Goodluck Jonathan. And one of the reasons he was voted out of power. So for us to now begin to see a tendency to deflect on whose responsibility it is to protect the people of the country when you have this level of arson and killing, it's unfortunate. The president, and that's why I said that, look, if today we are not seeing a concerned air security advisor who is going to concentrate on the job of security in the country and forget about politics, from Malam Nuhu Ribadu, it's not a problem. The president can still have in his cabinet gradually. This is even getting to the international community, to our image as the people. Now, even God cannot be level 2027, they are saying. Whereas the people they are expecting to come and vote for them, or probably still their vote in 2027, are being slaughtered to vote out the PDP in 2015, to have a repeat of all of these kind of things we are saying. Only for us to be getting excuses and the same pattern. We are still getting the same statement. I've directed them. I've given the marching orders. When is it going to stop?
Well, it is a very sad scams, and some of them
IDP camps are still being killed in IDP camps.
They're being taken care of by the Catholic as well. Some of them are being taken care of by the Catholic, so it somehow concerns them because they have some people that they are taking care of. So imagine losing your home from an initial attack by these marauders and these senseless killers. It's very unfortunate what's going on in Benue State, and my question still remains: how many people have to die for us to turn to the obvious answer here, which is a state of emergency, so that we can minimize the senseless killing?
And when we talk about a state of emergency, we are hoping that it will be declared the way the constitution has provided for it.
Right.
Not to make it a political tool by sacking governors and sacking assembly members, messing everything up. These are the kinds of situations that the framers of the constitution decided to put things like that in the constitution to say that, oh, you can even have the governor calling for it to say, look, I want a state of emergency in my state, a support from the federal government, declare some form of martial law, curfew, arrest, search, detention without necessarily presenting people in court, only for us to mess up our democracy.
Well, we have to move away from that particular. Some say it's farmer-elder clashes. Some say it's communal clashes. They say it's foreign criminals who are jumping in over the border and trying to overtake land. So it's kind of confusing to know even the strategy to employ here, since we've not been able to identify.
Even if at this level we have no clear intelligence, if at this level there's no clear intelligence on what is exactly happening in that state, then there's a problem.
Well, it's trends in the papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I'm Sage Babalola. I'm having conversations here with Fᴜʟʟᴏᴡ. We're reviewing the papers, The Guardian to be precise, and we open the conversation with the very unfortunate incident in Benue State. It is a very, very dire situation, and we hope that soon enough those at the helm move forward. Whilst there is tension in the Middle Belt and people are reported killed, we have the Northeast delegates that are fighting for Shettima's second term with President Tinubu. Now, delegates to the Northeast Zonal Consultative Meeting have said they would not allow President Bola Tinubu to drop Vice President Kashim Shettima for another person while running for another term. The delegates who regretted that what they had been hearing as a rumor was playing out in their presence and stressed that in 2027, the people used to play Lagos politics. The distraught delegate at the meeting, which held yesterday, said that security agents did not allow them to teach the All Progressives Congress National Vice Chairman, Northeast, Mustafa Saliu, some home lessons. So it became a problem when Saliu, that's the National Vice Chairman, omitted the name of Kashim Shettima as the running mate. And so they said they had been hearing rumors that there is a possibility in 2027 the president might pick somebody else to be his running mate. And this very clear omission by Mustafa Saliu was more or less a confirmation that this might actually happen. There was chaos. It became physical. The security agents had to interfere to prevent from Mustafa Saliu specifically from being attacked by the angry delegates, amongst other things. Fuad, it's 2025. There's 2020 who they are supporting might be removed from the political calculation of 2027, whilst their brothers and sisters in other states are being massacred.
Well, it's on cancer beyond the word that comes to my mind. I can't say on radio. They can't see beyond the politics they like to play. But because it has made the news, we just have to talk about it. It's unfortunate that we are forced to discuss these guys, because what we saw there was just sheer responsibility of adults, really, who are not able to put themselves together in a very responsible
There's
way.
No sense of priority, Fuad. No sense of, because I'm seeing the screen right now here in the studio, and there's videos of these people digging mass graves in Benue State, digging mass graves, and people rolling on the floor. And then there are adults in another state. Obviously, we are one nation who are physically fighting because somebody's name.
It is in 2027, I'll say you. The fight is for 2027.
Yes, in 2025, Fuad.
You know, like Barrister Curtis would say, when the other person is going to bury their loved one, because it does not really concern you, it's almost like they are taking a log of wood to bury. You don't feel it. Again, it's just what it is, and I think Nigerians are paying attention to the people we call our politicians, their sense of priority, the value they place on human lives. It's supposed to be like a zonal meeting. And remember that I told you, if you remember, that look, I am 100% sure that the APC on consensus level will return the president as his candidate in 2027. In fact, nobody will contest against it. That's a foregone conclusion. What I'm not sure of is that he will be running with Kashim Shettima as running mate. It might still be the Muslim ticket in 2027. But I'm beating themselves up. They're almost going to kill the APC national chairman, Dandudi. In fact, they sneaked him out of that event, out of that venue. So I'm surprised that in declaring their support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu towards 2027 election, that the vice chairman of his zone did not mention Kashim Shettima, and they started fighting. Maybe because it is in their zone. When the APC had their summit in Abuja, and there was a declaration by the National Assembly APC caucus for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu 2027. Did they put Kashim Shettima name there? Endorsing him, again, that was what all they said. So they knew. So maybe what had happened in the Northeast was to send a message to the president that, oh, we may not have been able to protest in Abuja because we respect you and you were on your feet. But in our zone, beating themselves up. That's the question. But again, if they let them continue to fight, because again, as Nigerians, I think we would rather hope and pray and continue to advocate for the self-activists in the North-Central to end, and continue to pay attention to people who are just all about politics and don't even understand that, look, sometimes there has to be some form of morality that comes with this thing. The quality of people we have in our political system is obvious for us to see, which is very unfortunate.
Very, very unfortunate indeed. I was very disappointed, honestly, and every Nigerian should be disappointed.
You will still see more disappointed.
It's very disappointing.
More fights they come.
For Nigeria is very sensitive at this time. We're grieving. The entire country should be mourning at this time. But this is what
sensible Nigerians are grieving. Sensible Nigerians are mourning.
Fighting. With the
election that's coming up in 2027.
Let's just let it go. We're streaming live on Facebook at Milan 98.3 FM. I see all your comments. I'll read them. Thank you so very much for going along with us as we go through the stories. Iṛsᴛ also had something to say over the weekend. He says Tinubu was never an activist. The narrative of President Bola Tinubu as a prominent activist during Nigeria's military era has been openly challenged by Iṛsᴛ, a human rights activist, who asserts that Nigeria's past action do not align with the definition of genuine activism. Speaking on Channel's television on Sunday, Szoṟᴜ contended that the president's participation in politics and subsequent exile did not equate to the underground struggle faced by many. He says, and I quote, "Your president was never an activist." He said that genuine activism involves direct, personal risk and visible participation. I'd like to read some of the things he says. Now, in part, because he said a lot, even when I was 21 years old, you could see me behind the bill that was activism. You could see me leading protests. You could see people go to jail. So people like Tinubu who said, oh, they want to come and bomb my house, and the next day he's out of the country, and we never saw him until 1999 when we had driven away the military. They're not people that you should call activists, end quote, also in part. So Fuad, this is the position of Iṛsᴛ. He also says something about opposition. He says he sees no opposition and the APC currently controls all, that WK and the APC are scared of opposition coalition. What is your opinion, or what is your analysis of these assertions that have been made by activist Iṛsᴛ?
Well, Comrade Szoṟᴜ is entitled to his opinion. I think, yes, to a large extent, he's actually correct about, if we're going to quantify or put a value to the activism that chased the military back to the barracks. In terms of, if there was one person that should make the list, if I'm number one on that list, he should wear this. He
said he doesn't want now. That was
you know, Szoṟᴜ. Comrade Szoṟᴜ. Because again, his argument is that, look, according to him, he just quoting him now that, look, you cannot honor me. That it cannot be honored by dishonorable men. I don't know what it means. That's just quoting him. He thinks that, look, even if it's going to be honored, it should come from people of honor. So that's his own, and that's why I said that even if they are put in there, we'll be there for the permission. I don't know. I'm sure he'll be in the studio. I think he's in Lagos, so we'll probably have him in the studio to explain some of these things.
Yeah, maybe on midweek politics or something, hopefully, or situation room. He's such a character.
But the fact is, look, the records are there. The facts are there. Szoṟᴜ was on ground as a very young man. He could have been gunned down by the military. Twice he was expelled from Unilag. He was in different jails. He was tear gassed. He was arrested. All manner of things happened to him as a young man. At that time, 21, 22, because I think it's about 54 years now. So he's dedicated his life, really. So if there are people who can say, yes, We fought. We were on ground. We did everything to chase the military back to the barracks. So we can beat his chest and say, yes, we did all that. But again, I think that to some extent too, the records are there too that look, a lot of the NADECO operation, Afenifere advocacy, got some good support from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu then, who had contested to be a senator. The election was annulled, and then he became a threat, and then he decided to leave the country. Those were the first set of people who left the country anyway, after the military came after them. So, but, you always get these reports of the fact that, look, at some point he was financing, he was supporting with logistics, he was there. Some of them who also went on exile eventually, were housed by him, that kind of thing. So I wouldn't really say he didn't do anything. Maybe for sure he didn't do anything, but I think
activism.
Not to...
activism is different from supporting people who are...
activism comes in different forms. For example, look at the former governor of Ekiti.
Okay.
Káyọ̀dé Fáyẹmí. He was practically running Radio Kudirat. If anybody had listened to Radio Kudirat at that time, you get the voice of Káyọ̀dé Fáyẹmí. It's unmistakable. He did all of that, running a radio then that the military were looking for. They thought it was a building, whereas it was in a moving vehicle. So people had contributed different things at that time. Maybe, Shore would, you should know now. But like I said, probably when we have in the studio, if I put more flesh on the father, he doesn't really see it as an activist. Maybe not in terms of real activism, like being on the, on the street. But to say that he didn't contribute anything to the struggle, for me, is wrong. I think from a lot of the reports we got, he was able to support, those that were, pushing the agenda on ground, those that also went on exile at some point. They are challenging democracy. What are they doing now that some of them have found themselves in power? What are they doing to even make Nigerians enjoy that dividends of democracy they've always wanted? Oh, we push the military back to the barracks so that we can have who were either journalists, who were either on ground, who went on exile, were advocating for the military to go back to barracks. Now that some of them, not all of them, have found themselves in power, what are they doing to sustain that democracy? What are they doing now to entrench democracy?
Well, as you said, the man himself will most likely be in the studio anytime from this week. Hopefully we can hear from the horse's mouth and understand his thought process as to why he believes that the president should not be regarded an activist, especially with the June 12th or democracy. As for the morning, we're live on Facebook and on YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. You can listen via Radio Guarding or via Radio Tuna or whatever online radio platform. You can also listen via our website. Hits $77 as Israel-Iran tension. This is one part of the story. There's also a complementary story here. Dangote launches nationwide fuel distribution native gas starting from August 15. This was as fears of fuel scarcity mounted in Lagos, another part on Sunday rather, that they would stop loading petroleum products from today, saying they could not afford to pay the 12,500 naira per truck for the e-collop system, especially on the Lekki-Ekpe corridor. Now, the Lagos state government has said there is no going back in the implementation of the e-collop system on Monday, accusing the unions of collecting up to 41,000 naira from drivers without any gas-powered tankers to boost delivery capacity and improve access to fuel across the country. So this is a lot of things happening. It's a cocktail of events. For what? First, we have Brent crude price has gone up around $75 to $77 per barrel as a result of the Israel-Iran conflicts. Now, typically, this would have been via exportation. We would pay a ton of money to have that product in the country. So whatever amount we gain from selling crude, drivers in Lagos and other parts of the country are saying that they would stop off taking our product because in Lagos State, they've been asked to pay 12,500 naira e-collop fee. That is, it is the technology that is used to ease how tankers operate, how they offtake. They have their system so that we can also stop all the traffic and a lot of trucks at the depots, among other things. And the drivers are saying it's too much. They can't pay that amount of money. But the Lagos state government says, as a union, you are collecting 41,000 naira from drivers. So what do you mean that you are unable to pay this particular fee of products? I don't even know the right questions to ask you for, but can you find a way to analyze this very complicated situation?
Well, two stories in one.
Right.
Two different stories. Yes, a bit related, but because again, we're talking about the oil sector.
Right.
So the first one basically is the fact that, look, this Israel-Iran war.
Yeah.
it's supposed to be some form of blessing to us. Because as we speak, crude oil prices have jumped to about $74 per barrel.
Yeah.
You know, as of last week, it was hovering around $64, $65 per barrel. Because of this disruption in supply, again, you should understand. Now, there's a shortfall in global supply. Prices are naturally going to go up. So we're already talking about $74 per barrel.
Yeah.
In fact, in one of the reports, it said that our local marketers are starting to adjust their prices up. Sharp. About 12 of them or 10 of them, Dangote inclusive, have started to increase the price of petroleum products. You know, and I'm like, why so fast?
It has not even started.
It means that JP Morgan is projecting that, no, if the war does not quickly end in the next few weeks, crude oil prices could hit about $120 per barrel.
Fuad, I say we use checkbook to buy petrol. We take check to the filling station.
And now that we are in an era where there is no subsidy, we are going to allow, because that's the fear. You know, because now we are in the era where we are being told that no, they will be telling you one PIA. I don't know, half of the people talking about the PIA have not even read the PIA. To understand that there are opportunities to do one or two things to make sure things are done properly at the local level. You know, so if we now go on the trajectory of there's no subsidy, let market forces decide. Because even if you sell crude to Dangote in Naira, it will still be sold at $120, the equivalent of $120 per barrel, as JP Morgan is predicting. So it means that we could be shooting for over 1,500 per liter. Because again, if we are buying at 879, 90, 900, when it is selling at about $70 per barrel. So if it hits $120 per barrel, JP Morgan is projecting, we're going to be in trouble. The other thing is that, look, one would expect that, look, if we are able to meet our quota and produce enough crude, we'll be making a lot of money by selling crude.
We would have been so rich. So rich. I can imagine how excited Aramco would be.
Now, you know, and it brings to mind again what happened during what was called the Gulf oil windfall, when there was a war in the Middle East. We made all that money then, but our Jᴏɪᴜ military government at that time, they couldn't give account. They are still alive. Up to now, they are not saying anything. Most of the nations you are celebrating today built their nations with the Gulf oil windfall. Countries of Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain. As an oil-producing nation at that time, too, we made a lot of money. But up to today, nobody can give a proper account of the crude oil windfall in the Gulf during the Gulf War. We have something, but it probably may turn out to be a cost to us.
Very unfortunate. I mean, on Global View, we will talk about the whole Israel-Iran situation. That is also a very terrible, terrible situation. I don't know what is wrong with Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't know what's going on with him, but I mean, somebody has to rein him in, and America doesn't seem to know what exactly.
I don't know why
we'll talk about it on Global View.
I don't know why people think it's a religious war. I've seen people taking sides. They think it's a Christian.
What does this have Christians? And the Bible already said Israel will overtake. You need to sit down. First of all, Israel is not mostly populated by Christians. You need to understand that. First of all, I feel like
there are even probably more Christians in Palestine than
Israel. You need to read.
You probably will find more Christians in Palestine than Israel.
It's not mostly dominated by Christians. Israel is just
Jews who don't even believe in Jesus Christ.
Well, let's talk about this situation court that is not.
Don't forget, it's there.
What? I mean, come on. Appeal Court nullifies Emefiele's asset forfeiture. Now, the Court of Appeal Lagos Division has overturned the final forfeiture order issued on the asset of the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to the federal government in a split decision of 2-1 delivered on April 9 and detailed in final forfeiture of Emefiele's asset. But dissatisfied with the lower court's decision, Emefiele, represented by his legal team led by Olalekan Ojo, appealed the decision. So, summary of this whole back and forth: the appeal court has overturned the initial decision of the High Court to forfeit the assets, specifically the duplexes.
These are not the Abuja properties,
Yes, I know.
These are the ones in Lagos.
The ones in Lagos. Now, I don't think Lagos has jurisdiction over properties in Abuja. So
I'm just sure people will understand. The 754 duplexes now prepare. It's not far. Reach the assets we are talking about and the location so that people will understand. These all traced to Emefiele.
2 fully detached duplexes at Hakeem Odumosi Street in Lekki, an undeveloped land with survey plan in Oyinkan Abayami Drive in
Victoria
Ikoyi,
Island.
Lagos, a bundle of land in Delta States, 8 units of uncompleted apartments in Ikoyi as well, a detached duplex at Ikoyi as well. God, I beg. Fad is a lot. If we continue, we'll not leave this place. It's many, but it has been
but the story is telling us that
at the moment, the appeal court.
No, well, I don't know whether the EFCC will appeal this, will take it to the Supreme Court. Because this is the appeal court saying that, look, the forfeiture process was faulty.
Yeah.
And they are not saying that the property should return to Emefiele.
No, of
that
course not.
It should go back for retrial.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether the EFCC will decide to go back for retrial. That's still subject. It's just very important that we know that these properties, whether we like it or not, are all traced and linked to one man, Emefiele. Who formerly worked in Zenith Bank.
Interest in the property. Not say it's the owner.
What interest?
In the property.
Look, the EFCC, look, the EFCC even saying that, look, at the point of forfeiture, although most of these properties were registered in the names of different companies, none of them have come out. Look at that.
This is my
Nobody has come out. It is only Emefiele who is still saying he has interest. Who are the other people?
Fuad, we have to go. We're due for a break. We're due for a break. Also, before we leave, just in a few seconds, I would like to report that 14 people were arrested after they set a truck ablaze during the protest.
I think they killed the driver too,
so this might have prompted the decision to disperse the crowd with tear gas, so people understand all the factors in blaze, and the driver was inside the truck when the protest was on.
They turned violent. They said his protest was like